Some nights start off ordinary, but at some point everything changes. And that night, it was exactly one of those nights. My husband, Michael, was out of town for work. After years of marriage, I had grown used to his business trips. I no longer minded spending nights alone. In fact, I sometimes saw it as a chance to breathe. Still, there was an uneasiness lingering inside me that I couldn't quite explain. After a long day, I took a hot shower and slipped into my soft robe. With a glass of wine in hand, I stretched out on the large couch in the living room and put on an old romantic movie. The quiet of the house echoed around me. What could be more peaceful than a night to myself? Just as I was getting lost in the film, a sudden knock at the door startled me. I frowned. It was past midnight. Who could it be at this hour? My heart began to race. I thought maybe someone had the wrong house, but then the knock came again, louder this time. I stood up and walked toward the door. I should have checked the peephole first, but I didn't. Maybe something inside me was telling me I had to open it. When I did, I found Callan standing there. I blinked in surprise. Callan was Michael's best friend. He often came over, but seeing him at this hour was unexpected. Callan? My voice was laced with confusion and a hint of nervousness. Callan gave a small smile, but there was something different in his eyes. "Sorry for dropping by so late," he said. "Michael texted me. He needs some paperwork from his office. I was nearby, so I thought I'd pick it up for him." I hesitated for a moment. Michael hadn't mentioned anything about this, but I had no reason not to trust Callan. He had been in our lives for years. "Of course, come in," I said, stepping aside. As Callan walked in, I closed the door behind him, and at that moment, I felt the air shift. I expected him to head straight to Michael's office, but instead, he paused at the entrance of the living room. His gaze flickered to the wine glass in my hand before returning to my face. "What were you watching?" I stopped the movie and smiled slightly. An old classic. I haven't had a night to myself like this in a long time. Callan nodded. "I can't believe Michael leaves you alone like this." His words sent a strange warmth through me. He never spoke like this. Or maybe I had never noticed before. Instead of going to the office, he made his way to the kitchen. "Can I confess something?" His words froze me in place. "Of course," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Callan leaned against the counter, his eyes holding an intensity I wasn't used to. "Michael is the luckiest man alive." A slow heat spread through me, settling deep in my chest. He needed to leave, but I couldn't find a reason to make him go. He stepped closer, and suddenly, the space between us became dangerously small. He should leave, but a part of me wanted him to stay. When he reached up to touch my face, I should have pulled away. But I didn't. "Callan..." His name escaped my lips as nothing more than a whisper. His gaze dropped to my lips. "If you tell me to walk out right now, I will," he said. "But if you don't, this could be a night we'll never forget." In that moment, I forgot how to breathe. Nothing had happened yet. But at the same time, everything had already changed, because I hadn't just opened the door. I had opened something inside me that I had been keeping locked away for years, and now there was no way to close it again.